What is up, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Kings Related Podcast, wherever you may be. And today we are breaking down one of the most intriguing young guard prospects in this exciting 2026 NBA draft class, and that is the point guard from the Houston Cougars, Kingston Flemings. And we'll dive into his game, his fit in the NBA, and most importantly, how he could impact the Sacramento Kings. But first, thank you as always for joining me for another edition of the show. And if you enjoy this podcast, make sure you give us a follow on Apple Podcasts or whatever podcast platform you prefer. And if you're watching over on our YouTube channel, please hit that thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, and leave a comment down below. So, who is Kingston Flemings? He's a combo guard with a smooth control style of play, not overly flashy, but he is incredibly effective on the basketball floor. And this past season, in his freshman year, with the Houston Cougars playing under Calvin Sampson, 16 points a game, 4 rebounds a game, over 5.2 assists, shooting 47.6% from the field, and nearly 40% from downtown, 38.7% to be exact, and from the free throw line, 84.5% from the free throw line. And Kingston Flemings, he is a player who can create his own shot, operate in the pick and roll, and he can hold his own defensively at a very high level. But what really stands out about Flemings is he plays with pace and not speed. And that's the big difference. And he's never rushed out there on the floor. He's always in control and never out of control, if that makes sense. And everything that he does out there, it feels deliberate. And that's what makes him a player so tough to guard. Now let's talk about Domantas Sabonis and his fit with Sabonis, because this is where things could really get interesting if Sabonis is still on this team when we get to next season, and that's a big if right now. Flemings, he thrives in the pick and roll situations, and Sabonis, one of the best screening bigs in the NBA, and we're talking about a perfect blend of the DHO handoffs, the quick decision makings, and efficient high IQ offense. And Sabonis, that's that offensive hub where the offense runs through Domantas Sabonis, and Flemings plays with patience and control. And if you put those two things together, you are creating clean looks, smart reads, and constant pressure on your opposing team's defense in that half-court situation. So let's add Keegan Murray and DeAndre Hunter into the mix. And now this is where you're talking about that wing core of those two that brings shooting with Keegan Murray. And even though DeAndre Hunter did not have a good shooting year this season with Cleveland and with Sacramento, he's still an efficient shooter. And we're talking about the length and some real versatility on the defensive end of the floor. And here's the key. For Kingston Flemings, he doesn't have to force anything. Like, he doesn't need to dominate the ball. And on this Kings team this year, we've had too many guys who dominate the ball. Zach LaVine, DeRozan, guys who dominate the basketball. Kingston Flemings, he just reads and reacts, and he makes the right play out there on the floor. And with shooters like Keegan and Hunter spacing the floor and the defenders covering ground, everything opens up. You got the driving lanes get cleaner. You got the passing windows get even bigger. And the decisions for Kingston Flemings becomes much more easier. And that's not just good basketball. That's winning basketball. And I don't know how much winning the Kings will be doing next year, because I think the Kings will still be bad, but not as bad as they were this past season, like we've seen. So the defensive upside is, I think that's the most underrated part of Kingston Fleming's game. Like, don't get me wrong, like, he can defend. And if you pair him with Nick Clifford, now the Kings, you got the start of a build that's something that this team has missed. Real perimeter defensive backbone. Like, how many times over the past several years where the opposing team has free range shooting from the perimeter, wide open shots, wide open. But with Kingston and Neek, now you got real potential perimeter defensive backbone with those two. And we'll talk about the point of attack pressure, the switchability that both players could bring, and the disruption as well. And Flemings, he brings the discipline and the effort, while you got Nick Clifford, who would bring the length and the versatility of his defense. And we've seen over time this season the defensive versatility that Clifford has brought at times this season for the Kings, as we've seen more and more of Nick's game play out over the course of this season. And you put that together, and suddenly you got opposing teams' guards aren't just getting comfortable out there on the floor. Their actions are getting blown up. And opposing teams' offenses are getting pushed out of rhythm. And that matters, because for all the offensive talent that this team has had, the one thing that has forever held this team back is defense. And this is how you can start to fix it. Like, you're not going to fix it overnight. It's the start of something to really get it fixed for your future going forward. So, what's the ceiling? Like, if everything clicks and Kingston Flemings becomes an all-star level guard, and that will be tough, especially in the Western Conference, with as many guards as there are in the West. Like, this is the kind of player who controls the game on both ends of the floor, offense and defense, not just as a scorer or a playmaker, but he is a true engine for a team offensively and defensively. And for the Kings, that's where things really shift, because now you're not just talking about a team built on the quote-unquote fun offense that we saw during the Beam Team 1 year where they snapped the playoff drought. You're talking about a team with balance, structure, and most importantly, identity. A team who can score and get stops when it matters. Because if you go back to the Beam Team year when they made the playoffs as the number 3 seed, that team was good enough to beat anyone, and they were good enough to lose to anyone. And this year, this team, they don't do anything well, offensively or defensively. And so a team like with players like Sabonis, Keegan Murray, and a defensive core coming into place, if you build this the right way, this is how you go from exciting to a possible legit contender in the West if you build this team correctly and you draft the right players. So let me know in the comments down below if you're watching on YouTube or your preferred audio platform. Do you think Kingston Flemings is the right fit for the Sacramento Kings if they don't win the lottery? And if they fall into that, let's say the 5th, 6th, or 7th spot in the draft, is that your point guard of the future? And with Kingston Flemings, he kind of reminds me of De'Aaron Fox. And with his offense, defense, and can he be the piece that takes this team to the next level of what Scott Perry, maybe Doug Christie if he's coaching this team, to the next level of what you are trying to build here in Sacramento? So drop your thoughts, join the conversation, because I want to hear it. Let me know. And that's going to do it for today's episode of our Kings related podcast. And as always, if you enjoyed this podcast, make sure you give us a follow on Apple Podcasts or your preferred audio platform. We are a video podcast on Spotify and YouTube. So by all means, please catch the video feed. That would be much appreciated. But until next time, thank you as always for joining me on the Kings Related podcast. And as always, go Kings.